to get in, and then we can get ready to go racing for a new season of UFR. In the meantime, if you are watching live, come in, say hello, get your cups of tea, get your popcorn, whatever you might need for what is hopefully going to be a thrilling race to come. And I certainly cannot wait to get underway. But yeah, just while we wait, get yourself settled in. Shouldn't be too long at all. I just wanted to get the stream up and sorted, so there's no discrepancies, let's say, when we go to actually go live for the race. So it's all sorted and done now, which is absolutely brilliant. So I think we've got maybe one or two more to come in. And then we'll be going at 8 o'clock, so 4 minutes time, guys. Not too long at all. $16 people now in. That is always good. Nearly a full grid for the season opener. So yeah, shouldn't be disappointed at all. And what a circuit as well. Silverstone is just incredible. The British Grand Prix is, yeah, well, it's the British Grand Prix. A lot of people say Silverstone can be overhyped. I completely and utterly disagree. I think Silverstone is fantastic. In all ways, you know, it's got character, it's got fast flowing corners, it's got heavy braking zones, it's the whole shebang. And I honestly, with a tad bit of British bias, of course, but I genuinely think Silverstone is up there with Spa and things like that. Of course, Spa and well, yeah, just Spa. To be honest, I think Spa and Silverstone are the two probably the best tracks on the calendar. Maybe even alongside. Well, prestigiously, you'd say Monaco as well, but doesn't qualifying really is the only entertaining bit of the weekend, unless there's something like, I don't know, rain or whatever in the race, which we haven't had in recent times, so there's that. But nonetheless, yeah, hopefully 17 people now in. Look at that, nearly a full grid. Just 3 people off a full grid for tonight's race. So yeah, definitely cannot wait to get underway. We've got a lot of people. That means a lot of recipes for both disaster and for action. Hopefully it's more action-packed than dramatic, because two very contrasting things when it comes to Formula 1. We've got a few people in now. Thank you for checking in and saying hello. It's a pleasure to have you all in, and I certainly cannot wait to get underway. Who's in? We've got Callum in. He's part of the F2 part of the league, and it is hopefully going to be in the F1 part. Well, fingers crossed. Aim high, get yourself into this top division. There is a couple of familiar faces for myself in this league, who are, yeah, pretty quick. So you've definitely got your work cut out for you if you want to get into this. You've obviously got Patterson, who's relatively quick. You've got Wayne and Giza. Those two are also relatively quick. We've got Nathan. This is his first league race. Well, we all got to start somewhere. I remember my first league race was at Singapore. I finished P10 because I sent it down the inside into the final corner at Singapore, and that didn't end very well. So I got given a 3-second penalty and dropped out of the points. But oh well. Definitely be seeing how you get on, Mr. Nathan Hotspurs. We've got quite a few Nathans. Well, I say a few. We've got 2. We've got Nathan Hot and Mad Nathan. So we've got Hot Nathan and Mad Nathan in this race. 7 people now in. Who else is? I don't think I really recognise them. Any other people? Mad Nathan I know is alright. Wayne as well. Giza, both pretty good people. Yeah, well, to finish first you must finish. So, you know, just get to the end, and if you're in the points, you're in the points. But nonetheless, it's still a good result. Getting to the end, it's a rewarding in of itself. In that you got to the end of a 26 lap race. It's not easy, and especially at Silverstone, you can very much spin quite often. So just get to the end. Welcome in, Ethan. Hope your stream goes well, and thank you, of course, for having me in, and all the support, of course, with everyone. So I hope everyone does enjoy the stream today. Thank you, Nathan. It's very much appreciated, and the kind words do go a long way. So, yeah, best of luck to you in the race, man. And yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out on you. To see how you're getting on with it all. But you better do me proud. Expect, 23s in qualifying at the very least. Joking. But I think we are getting underway very, very shortly. Yeah, clock now ticking down. 21 seconds now until a new season of UFR gets underway. So, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the UFR Racing League. The long, grueling wait is most certainly over. We are back for an all-new season on F1 2021. The tables are reset, the calendar back to round one. Drivers now have the chance to prove their worth against some of UFR's best. A long season awaits us, and it starts here with the British Grand Prix. A circuit known for its challenging, fast and flowing corners, it certainly is a breeding ground for a great race. I'm your all-new commentator, Zach Sweeney, bringing you all the action, and I certainly cannot wait to get underway. A new era starts right now, and while we're loading in to a short qualifying session, 18 minutes long, differing to, of course, the more conventional full qualifying session you'd see perhaps in real life. The short qualifying session, it's basically Q1, Q2 and Q3 all in one, more Q2 and 3. In that, well, you start on the tyres, you set your fastest lap on if you're in the top 10, but it's also the shootout for pole position. So those who put the quickest lap in, of course, will start first. That's how it goes in qualifying. And, well, if I'm not too sure on the pace of everyone, of course, it's my first time, but if I had to hedge a bet, I would say we're going to be around about the low 26s, high 25s maybe. I think that would be a reasonable benchmark to go for. Well, the clock now ticking down, 18 minutes, and I would say we're gonna see a lot of people out on the softs. I don't think mediums are going to be the go-to in terms of tyres for qualifying. I think everyone's going to want to go for the the soft tyre, sorry. But Mad Nathan has gone for the mediums. Maybe wants to bank a lap time and then on those mediums, and then get those 3 softs runs in. But then again, he compromises a set of mediums he might need for the race. Who knows what happens with his safety cars here at Silverstone. There's an Aston Martin, that is Dizzy Lizard, heading out along with the Haas in front of him. Could be William. It is indeed William. So William going to be the first man out on track, the first man to set a lap for the new season. And hopefully he doesn't do a Roman Grosjean and spin on the exit of the pit lane. But here we are then on board with the Haas for his outlap. He's on these softs and he's coming out with quite a few people, the Aston Martin and the Alpine, I believe. It might actually be the Williams behind. It is indeed the Williams behind. There's a lot of blue on the grid this season, or this year in Formula 1 I should say. But yeah, William first out. Let's see how he copes around Silverstone. It's important to get your tyres into a nice balanced window in terms of temperature. Of course, you don't want them too cold that you're understeering because they can't withstand the lateral G's you're putting on, but you also don't want them too hot that they're sliding, they're not gripping hard enough to the circuit, and they're changing shape too much. So you need a nice middle ground between the two. Around about 85 to 90 degrees or so would be absolutely perfect for these soft compound tyres. And of course, you've got the internal carcass temperature and the surface temperature, both of which are incredibly important. The 3 Maggots and Beckett's, incredible corners in qualifying spec. Very tricky to tame in the race, however. You know, you don't want to get caught out by Maggots, Beckett's, or Stowe, in fact. Probably the hardest sequence of corners to negotiate in the race. But in qualifying spec, absolutely beautiful corners to go for. As well as Stowe, you are not on the brakes for very long. You dab down 2 gears and then you're flat straight back onto the throttle again towards Vale. Let's see how William starts his lap then. Setting it up coming through Vale, and the final corner of Club. Want to be getting as good an exit as possible, straight line it as much as possible, come out wide and tuck in to get a good run. Now coming towards Abbey, use that curb completely flat, make sure you hug that inside curb as much as you can, and then through turn 2, again hug it in towards Village, brake just at the start of the curb, down to third gear, you really got to trail your brake your way in, and then for the loop, again, brake when you're on a straight line, second gear, it's so crucial to get a good exit now through Aintree. Don't use those inside 2 curbs, it does really unsettle the car, but then a good run down this Wellington straight towards Brooklands, looking for the 50 board, just after it, down to 4th gear, really got to chuck it in, and then through Luffield, let it run out wide, don't bring it to the left, just keep it to the right, and then keep the car pinned, hug it the inside, 5th gear to get a good run, a very good first sector so far for Will, as he goes through Woodcote and up towards Cops. Well, it should be around about flat out in qualifying spec. Let's see how he goes for it. A bit of a safety lift, I'd say that's fair. Use the track on the exit, and then you're coming towards Maggots, Beckett and Chapel, flat, and then flat here if you're brave as well, and he goes for a bit of a spin, and that is qualifying over for the Haas. A huge crash, and that just goes to show how hard in fact Maggots and Beckett's are. That one tiny mistake, you saw he just corrected the car a little bit too much, and back when the back end had just spun round, just left him, and that is such a shame for William, because so far that looked like a pretty decent lap. But we'll hop on board with the Williams then. Coming through Stowe again, 6th gear, 7th gear if your name's Jana Watmere, invalidates it through Stowe, goes out a little bit too wide, and it is very punishing when you do go wide. We've got the Red Bull of Mr. XL, 27.6 to the first sector, not at all bad, but I don't think he's really pushing on a lap at this time. Again, Dizzy Lizard goes fastest, 26.6, not at all a bad time for the Aston Martin. Definitely a competitive lap time already. I'd say we can maybe find about 6/10 or so, get ourselves into the 25. Patterson on his first flying lap towards Stowe. Could have used a little bit more track on going in, but throughout negotiated pretty well. Coming towards Vale, brake at the start of that curb. 3rd gear, 2nd gear. Don't really want to use that sausage on the inside, and then again don't want to use that sausage, you can see just outwashes the car, but through the final corner, across the line, 27.6, so we've got 2 .6s, but about a second apart between the 2 Aston Martins. The only two to actually set a lap time in this at this point. Mr. XL now coming across the line, miles 29.0 the Alfa Romeo goes. What can this Red Bull do now through Vale? Across the line, goes second, 27.2, so Dizzy Lizard setting a good pace benchmark for the time being. No one else at the moment out on a lap. We've got the Alpha Tauri sat on the exit, waiting to go, and that's not the most optimal start to a lap, I'm sure. On those medium tyres, they're going to be a little bit cold, and then, well, that's not the best exit speed either. We've got Nathan back in. Yeah, we saw it, William. We saw it. We were on board as you went through Beckett's and just lost the rear end, which is unlucky because that looked like a really hooked up lap, and I'd say that would have been a challenge for Dizzy Lizard at the very least. Maybe towards the 25s, but unfortunate, you've got it all to play for. 26 laps in the race, that's where the points are scored. But let's see, AlphaTauri 27.6 to the first sector on mediums, not a bad time whatsoever. Maybe I'm doubting him. Goes for a nice V-shaped line through Luffield, so you go in very hot, get it cut back in for a straight exit, and that does work quite often as well through Woodcote. Could have sawn off maybe a couple of metres there and just keep it tight, but through Cops, completely flat out, and that's what happens when you take that risk. The back end swapped around on him, and then he's facing the wrong way, and has to abort to the old pit lane exit to get himself turned around as to not getting away of the Alpine of Cliff there. But yeah, that is the risky one. It's not easily flat like it was on 2020. It is flat, but very tricky to take it flat, so you need to be extremely careful through Cops. It's very tricky. But we'll go on board with Paul in the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, of course, doing a very good job in real life in the Ferrari, and he gets swapped around coming off the final bit of Vale, sorry, I should say. In the back end, swap round on him, so he's going to need to recover himself and get ready for another lap. We'll go on board with the Alpine instead then as he comes through Vale and towards Club, gets a nice exit, gets a nice run. But it's so important to get a good qualifying here in Silverstone. Of course, track position isn't everything because it isn't notoriously difficult to overtake around here. You can do it at numerous spots, this one being one of them, Village. You can just keep it maybe on the left hand side, have the inside for the loop, or dive it to the inside and just run the opponent out of track on the exit. Very easy to do. Of course, Brooklands after this DRS zone, also a very, very good one to do it. You can get up the inside and run your opponent out wide. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of side-by-side action through here as well. But Cliff has invalidated his lap for the time being, so we'll go on board, let's see, with Lewis coming now through Copse. Let's see if it's going to claim another victim. Keeps it off the track, but keeps his lap valid, so fair enough. He must have lost a little bit of time as to keep that valid. There goes Tour with a 26.3, 3/10 purple then in the Williams. Yes, the Williams Tour is on. But Lewis looking on a pretty good lap, 103.0 to the middle sector, and heading up this hanger straight towards Stoke. Break at the 50, down to 7th. It's good if you can keep the revs up, but 6th gear probably the most ideal at this level. Into Vale, very nicely done. Gets a turn in for the second part, run it out to the curb, and then bring it back, straight line the exit. What's Lewis done? It's second place, so it's a Williams 1-2 for the time being, and hardly anything separating the two. Look at that, less than 2/100ths of a second between the two, around about 1800ths of a second. 18,000ths of a second, I should say, between the two. Paul in the Ferrari finally managing to set a lap up now through Abbey and Village towards Farm, I think, and then into the loop. Gets it nicely done. He's going to get a nice little toe off the car in front. That's going to be a nice little benefit, and the AlphaTauri moving out of the way very cheekily. So Paul not going to benefit. Let's see what he does to the first sector. 6/10 up on his previous best. 27.2 on those medium tyres. Not bad at all. Currently sits P5 with a 27.2, does Paul. Let's see what he can do. He's got around about half the lap left to go. Still a long way, and he's coming up to the trickiest sector now, in excess of nearly 190 miles an hour as you flick it to the right through Copse. Absolutely nailed that. Could not have been better at all. Pretty much flat out on those mediums. Couldn't ask for much better through Maggots and Beckett's. Bit of a safety lift going in, and then down one gear, brake for Chapel, get it down 2, and then get as straight as line as you can coming onto this hanger straight. 5/10 up now to the middle sector. 103.0, that's going to match Lewis to the middle sector. Let's see if he can find a bit of time in this final one, because Paul is looking incredibly quick then. Nails Stowe could have maybe used a little bit more track on the inside and outside. Down the gears, brake for the start of the curb. Hit that first curb. With that second one, very nicely done. Get the power down as quickly as you possibly can. Paul across the line. It's only P4, 26.6 on the medium tyres though, so it is pretty commendable. With Dizzy Lizard falling down to P3 with a 26.6 as well, so very close times indeed. Dizzy Lizard on his second lap of the day through Copse. Runs it out to the edge of the track, very nicely done. Let's see what he does. Maggots and Beckett, again, beautiful sequence of corners. You can just truly get the perception of how quick these Formula 1 cars are when you watch them through Maggots and Beckett's, especially at a low angle. You just see them blitz past at a second. They're going through there, pulling 5 Gs in real life. And then on the exit, you know, towards Stowe, 200 miles an hour with the Aston Martin reaching 5th gear, 6th gear, get it turned in as the Alpine pulls over. This is looking like a pretty good lap for Dizzy Lizard at the time being. Well, thank you, Stein. Thank you for joining in as well. Coming across the line, Dizzy Lizard. Is it going to be an improvement? It is an improvement. It's provisional pole by around 0.5 of a second. A 26.321 now is the benchmark for people to aim for as Wayne gets himself into P5 with a 26.9. So Wayne coming in strong. Still waiting for a couple more people to settle their lap times. Miles is on a lap, I believe, in the Alfa Romeo. Currently sits P11, 28.5. Going to get a nice little toe off that Mercedes down the Wellington Straight. Indeed, no, he backed off his lap. So we'll go on board. Let's see what Swoosh Rider's doing. Is he on a lap time? I think he is indeed. DRS open. That drag reduction system propelling him down this Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. Nearly 200 miles an hour. Slam on the brakes. Turn so early. You have to carry so much minimum corner speed through Brooklands. It's crazy how tight the corner actually is, because you're going in so fast and you just keep that speed all the way through. And then through Woodcote as well. You know, it is flat, of course, but yeah, you do need a good run through it. Copse as well, very much a safety list from the Alpine, completely off the throttle. And again, that might unsettle the car, that might unset the weight shift, of course, because when you put the throttle down, everything goes backwards. When you lift off, everything goes forward. So lifting off could really unsettle the car through Copse. Maybe just half a lift or something like that to keep the weight in check. But nonetheless, does a good at middle sector. 103.1 for Swoosh. I'd say that's going to put him up there with Paul and Wayne at the very least. Maybe even Lewis if he can hook up this final sequence of corners. Stowe, Vale and Club towards Vale. Let's see what the Alpine can do. Now 14 people tuning in. It's a pleasure to have you all. I hope you are enjoying, and if you are racing, I hope you have best of luck for the race. P4 goes the Alpine, then a 26.5 So very much up there, and incredibly close qualifying. You can see hardly anything, less than a tenth separating the top three, only about a tenth and a bit back to fourth, and then even then half a tenth back to fifth, and then a couple of tenths back to sixth. But the top five separated by nothing, and I think any one of these guys realistically can take it. Mad Nathan, of course, someone tips to be a front runner in the McLaren on an out lap. He hasn't even set a time yet, so we have to see how he gets on his lap as well. But other than that, yeah, look how close the grid is. Separated really by only about 2.5 seconds for the entire grid. That's well, that's quite good, I would say. That's definitely closer than real life, and I think if people can hook up a bit of a lap, it could be even closer. But so far, Paul, the only man in the top 10 on the mediums, and well, if he goes for the softs, I think he's going to blitz that pole time, because between mediums and softs, I would say around about 0.6 of a second around Silverstone. Between the two, Mad Nathan on his outlap then. Definitely a quick driver. I've experienced him before. I can definitely recognise the name, and I know he is quick, and tipped to be quick, I'm sure, by a lot of people. A lot of people in the pits. About half the grid out on track now, either on an out lap or a fly lap, trying to improve. 4 minutes left of this qualifying session. Then this is the final chances really for people to get out. As Swoosh goes quickest, 26.2 in the Alpine then, and pips Dizzy by less than a tenth of a second. So still keeping it incredibly close as Mad Nathan now starts his lap time. What can he do as he goes through Vale? Completely flat out then towards Abbey down this Hamilton straight. Open up the corner, flat in, just flick it, keep it smooth, hug this inside curve, bring it to the left hand side, looking for the start of the curve, down to third gear. Just want to have maybe a little bit more of a cleaner turn in there, but still very good from the McLaren. Gets a good run. That was very nice apexing through the loop. You want to get a late one, but not too of a late one. Nice in the middle, probably between the middle of the corner and the exit of the corner to apex, as Brian gets himself into P3 in the Red Bull, 26.3, so incredibly close. Mad Nathan goes purple to the first sector as he comes through Laffield. Again, go in for that V-shaped line, go in fast, cut in, and get the good launch now through Woodcote, completely flat. You can see shaving off just meters off his lap, but every little helps now coming towards Stowe. Chuck it in again, just a little bit of a safety lift, but keeps the throttle pinned where it counts, towards Maggott and Beckett. Keep it to the right, fling it in, and then flick it to the right, and then again for the left. You just have to be committed, you have to be brave, you have to trust the car through Maggott, Beckett and Chapel. DRS open now down the hanger straight. It's a 102.4 and purple for the McLaren at their home race. Now towards Stowe, keep it to the left hand side, look for the start of the curve, down to 6th, chuck it in, you're not on the brakes for long, get it flat, goes a little bit wide, you can see a little bit hesitant on the throttle, but it shouldn't cost him too much. Into Vale now, 3 minutes left of the session. Mad Nathan about to set his first lap, and it's been a very good lap. Through club, I'd say a very high 25, across the line 25.9, and goes fastest, does the McLaren. A 3/10 clear of Swoosh Rider in second, and well, we said it was close, but my god, was that a good lap from the McLaren. Absolutely blitzing time, and still has around about 2 minutes left. If he wants to get back to the pit lane, I would say that's going to be his only shot at qualifying, because unless he wants worn out tyres for the race, he's not going to be looking too good to go for another lap, unless he is. I mean, let's have a little look. No, he's invalidated, so not going for another lap. Dizzy Lizard on an out lap, another person we could contend for pole, 4 tenths off it at the moment. And what did I say? I said we'd be in the low 26s, high 25s. I'm just, you know, basically should get higher as one of them people at the fairgrounds that predict your future. But the two Aston Martins now heading out onto their final lap. Patterson heads the way with Dizzy Lizard behind. Two Aston Martins, one in third, one in 11th, but Patterson, you have to say, is new to his new wheel configuration and no assist, so still getting used to it. So I'd say P11, definitely a realistic target, and only around about, what is that, 1 and a bit seconds off pole, nearly 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds off pole, yeah. But let's see what Dizzy Lizard can do then. Towards the first sector, is it up? No, it's about a tenth down. That probably could be attributed to the dirty air of his teammate in front, but he's got a nice toe. You can see how much he's struggling to get the car bit in there, just can't get it turned, really wrestling it, but he's got a nice toe from his teammate, so it's going to help him down the straights, not so much through the corners. Hi mate, yeah, pleasure to have you in, and well, Patterson, he's going to get a lot of people in. I think incredible support from all you guys. I can't thank you enough for it. But Dizzy Lizard invalidated his lap time, so it's only Patterson flying the flag for Aston Martin on this final lap. Let's see what he can do. A 10th down to the first sector, across into sector 2, again another 10th down, 103.7. Got a lovely toe from Keezy Geezer in front though in that Mercedes. towards Stowe. Could again use a little bit more track. I think Patterson has the fundamentals, but just doesn't maximise it as he invalidates Lewis. DNFs from the session as well. He's going to hope for P6 at the very best, but still enough time for people to go out for another lap. I'd say Swoosh Rider, the best of the bunch to top Mad Nathan, but of course we've got Tor, who invalidates their lap, which isn't very good at all. Swoosh Rider, I'm going to say, the only one that can really put a halt to Mad Nathan's run as he retires from the session. So the Alpine solo gunner at the front, 3/10 he needs to find himself on pole position. Mad Nathan cannot respond, so it's all down to this. 15 seconds left of qualifying, and the Alpine has got nothing to lose. It's going to be P2, or it's going to be P1 or nothing for the Alpine through Abbey, completely flat out, really giving it his everything. He's got no competition really from behind. Maybe Dizzy Lizard if he gets another lap, which he does. Purple to the first sector, so that we counted him out, but the Aston Martin is looking strong on those soft tyres. Well, their second run, so they're still looking pretty strong. Checkered flag is out. Swoosh Rider getting a nice tow from his teammate. That is very, very nice sportsmanship between the two. Swoosh Rider 4/100ths of a second up on his first sector time. He's got it all to gain in the next two. Really needs to give it everything. Dizzy Lizard as well through Maggots and Beckett's. Very nice through Beckett's, through Chappell as well. A little bit of understeer though. That's not going to help him. Is he up? No, he's not. He's 3/10 down. It's all down to Swoosh Rider to put an end to the McLaren's reign at the top. Big lift through Cops. And trying to give it everything. Just gotta send it. Just give it everything. All on the line. Balls to the wall from this Alpine. Chappell, very nicely done. Gets the run. 6th gear DRS open. Is he up? Yes, he is. Around about 1.5 tenths. 1.75. He is up. And he needs to find around about a tenth and a bit into this final sector. Let's see what he can do. Chucking it in. Stowe was absolutely beautiful. And I think it's going to be extremely close between the two. What can the Alpine do? The last man to set a lap time currently sits P2. Can he get himself one better through Vale, through Club? What's it going to be? Is it going to be pole position? No! It's just off. Less than a tenth of a second between the two. And he just misses out on pole position. So Mad Nathan takes pole for the first round of the season. But 26 laps ahead of us. Silverstone is going to be a very good track for overtaking. And Swoosh Rider, as long as he's got the consistency, definitely should be there. And, well, qualifying done and dusted. We've got one man starting on the mediums inside the top 10. But other than that, everyone going for the softs. And I certainly cannot wait to get the race underway. If qualifying is promising so much so far. And I hope the 16 people of you watching along are looking forward as well. So it is Mad Nathan that goes fastest. A 1:25.923 is your pole lap for the UFR Round 1 British Grand Prix. He's joined on the front row by Swoosh and Dizzy Lizard in P3, with Brian rounding off the second row. Tor in P5 with Lewis. P6, Paul on the mediums in P7. Valiant effort from the Ferrari man. Cliff in P8 with Mister in P9. Wayne rounds off the top 10 with Patterson, the first of the free tyre choice runners. Kizagiza P12 with Nathan in P13. Miles P14. Himi in P15. And William and Wayne both unable to set a lap time in qualifying. They'll round off on the back of the grid. So 16th and 17th. But William, we only saw half a lap from him before he put it in the wall. But I mean, he looked promising. It looked quick for him. So I think it's all to play for in the race, certainly. 26 laps, it's a long race. Safety cars and attrition are definitely going to play a massive factor in this one. So definitely all to play for. Completely dry skies, no weather interfere in this one. Great quality session indeed. Even Max, Patterson, all to play for in the race. Paul couldn't quite get the run on the soft tyres, so he's going to have to start on the mediums. Still can work for you. Take those tyres long, go for the softs, light fuel, fast tyres. You'll be absolutely flying towards the end, so don't sweat it. I think you're going to do absolutely brilliantly if that's what your pace is like on the medium tyres. But nonetheless, 8 seconds before we go underway for the formation lap. And, well, UFR starts here. A new era begins here as we go green for the formation lap. The McLaren leads us off. So it's a British-French front row in terms of teams. Predicted pit stop strategy, soft to medium or soft to hard. I would definitely go with a soft to medium strategy. A lot better. The hards don't really work around Silverstone at all. And the tyre degradation isn't too bad. You'd be surprised because you've got such fast, demanding corners. You've got Abbey, Farm, Village, and then you've got Copse, Maggots and Beckett, Stowe, where you really have to lean on the tyres and put them through such a lot of stress, but you just don't wear out the tyres, so soft to medium should be pretty good running, I would say. Of course, they run higher in terms of the actual compounds that Pirelli use, but still, soft to medium definitely going to be the quicker strategy I would go for. And well, while they all try and get their tyres warmed up, you can see that by them just weaving around, trying to use some friction, get them tyres into a nice optimal condition before the start of the race. You need the tyres in a good condition because everyone's so close together. If you make one mistake, you're going to be falling, you're going to be tumbling down the order. You know, look to Baku when on the restart for the sprint for the last 3 laps. Lewis Hamilton goes deep into turn 1, a very uncharacteristic mistake from the champion. But it cost him so much because it was a mistake off the start, and everyone's so close together that you go on. And if that was in the normal race under normal running, wouldn't have cost him as much. But because everyone was so close, finished outside the points for the first time in around about 3 seasons or so, which is incredible. And I'm a Max fan, so yeah, let's take that as you will. Nonetheless. We're rounding the formation lap now. We're rounding the end of the formation lap now, I should say. Now Nathan leads us off. It's going to be a short run towards Abbey, starting on the Hamilton straight. But if you can chuck it up the inside, no reason why you can't get the move done, as we saw Max do in the 2021 sprint qualifying race. Hopefully we have no repeats of the actual race. Nonetheless, though, lining up on the grid, the McLaren and Alpine, 2 tyrants at the moment. They've got Dizzy right behind them as well. Here we go. You're right about that one, Ethan. Dizzy Lizard's going to be there as well. I'd say Brian. I think a lot of people inside the top 6 could have a chance at this if they play their cards right. Lining up now, waiting for the green flags to be waved. "26 laps ahead of us. The British Grand Prix. We've had an incredible qualifying session. The green flag is waved. We go to 5 red lights. The cars are revving up. The adrenaline's pumping. A new era of UFR starts now. We are underway in racing. It's a great start for the pole sitter and the Alpine, who already tries to look alongside, but a great start from Dizzy, already ahead of the Alpine and challenging Mad Nathan towards turn 1. The Red Bull of Brian trying to put the pressure on Swoosh. He's had an absolutely appalling start, but Mad Nathan leads from the Aston Martin of Dizzy. Swoosh and Brian then makes up the top 4, but side by side goes Lewis with Tor. No, it's the Red Bull of Brian going side by side with the Williams. And gets the move done up into P4 and chasing after the podium fight. But Lewis going side by side with the Williams of Tor. The 2 teammates now battling it out into Brooklyn side by side. Around the outside goes Lewis. Tor trying to give him the run. The Ferrari trying to find a way through. He's on those medium tyres, going to send it up the inside. Gets one, but can't quite get the other, and gets himself ahead. That's Wayne getting very squirmy off the exit of Luffield. Swoosh now onto the back of Dizzy, trying to make up for a poor start in towards Cobbs. Mad Nathan leads. Lizard and Swoosh, your top 3. Lizard gets a little bit of a compromised run. Swoosh might be able to put the pressure on, not quite going to be able to do it into Maggots and Beckett. So I think they're going to probably just keep themselves sensible. But that is a retirement. That's Cliff out on lap 1, and a VSC has been brought out. So I'm going to guess that he found himself spinning at Cobbs, bounced back onto the track, and that is a shame for the Alpine driver for that to have ended so quickly and so prematurely. And yeah, it's always bad to see it end on lap 1, but hey ho, that's what you have to live with, really. But a shame VSC being brought out. Full course yellow basically puts presses pause on the race for a while as they all funnel their way around at about a 40% race speed delta. As we go back green, Wayne being given a drive-through penalty for speeding under VSC. Dizzy Lizard with not the best launch at all, was lost about 1.7 seconds as Swoosh is trying to put the pressure on Dizzy as well. He didn't get the perfect restart as the timing glitch has happened once again. It strikes once again on the new game, but Wayne following close to Patterson, who has had an incredible start up to around about P8 or so from P11 on the grid, so not at all a bad launch as we come on to lap 2. DRS enabled next lap. Wayne trying to put the pressure on in the Mercedes, needs a good launch off this corner as Patterson is on the mediums. These soft tyres should be a little bit quicker. Tuck in the slipstream pull to the left hand side, not quite going to go for it, doesn't really know where to go with it. I think he's going to tuck in behind and not go for that move. I think he has established that Patterson might be a little bit quicker at this stage in the race, but Mad Nathan a very dominant lead out front. As the timing glitch finally decides to sort itself out. Paul putting the pressure on Tor in front in the Williams. So he's still trying to put that pressure on the Aston Martin in front of him, but he can't quite do it. Tor goes very wide. Paul has underfueled the car, so we'll need to save as Wayne gets in front of Patterson. Patterson going to try and fight it side by side. They go into Maggotts and Beckett. That was never, ever going to end well. So wise of Patterson to back out, but he chucks it back up the inside of Wayne, who almost just lets him through. And Mister wants to get involved as well. The fight for P7. The Red Bull looking to get past. Wayne tucked up nicely on Ethan, who pulls back to the left-hand side. The Mercedes looking to get through. He's low on ERS. The Red Bull trying to find a way through. Nathan as well into the top 10 on his debut. Mister going very wide. I think he's going to have to pull into the pit lane. Maybe he's got a bit of damage or something. So Nathan up into the top 9 and chasing after Wayne and Patterson in front. As Dizzy Lizard sets the fastest lap of the race. Swoosh, not with much to say about that one. So Lizard at the moment the second fastest of the top 3, and indeed is catching up after Mad Nathan, who you can see is very much struggling on those tyres now as DRS is enabled. So we will get him have that drag reduction system, that extra 15 kph alongside the extra 160 brake horsepower he gets from the overtake button. It's going to propel him down this back straight. Not quite enough in it though for him to go for the move on this particular occasion, but some weird mistakes from the McLaren in front, very much squirming on those tyres. Whether he's uncomfortable or something has happened, whatever it might be, it's allowed Lizard to close up, and the fight for the lead back on now is William and the McLaren of Rigby has had a bit of a crash. His name is so long, I didn't actually know how to pronounce that one. But nonetheless, they've come together and they rejoin the track in 14th and 15th. So it's all going wrong for William, I think, which is a shame. Patterson and Wayne still battling it out. Paul as well. Mad Nathan has gone for a spin through Maggotts and Beckett. The race leader has gone round, and Dizzy Lizard inherits the race lead. So Mad Nathan is on an absolute comeback charge now. He needs to get his head down, compose himself quickly, and recover from this race as Paul's looking to the inside of the Williams towards Stowe, getting himself into that top 4. Gets it done on those medium tyres. He's absolutely flying, and Tor with not much to say about that. Swoosh on the back of Lizard now. Those two are your new race leaders, and I think it was a matter of time. I think Lizard was putting the pressure on Nathan there, and whether it was a bottle under pressure or something, it's happened, and I think those tyres are going to be a little bit cooked. And you've got another yellow flag through sector 2. I think it's cleared itself though. So the battle between the two leaders definitely well and truly on, as Wayne gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as he goes for his drive through. Lizard a little bit squirmy off the loop. Alpine trying to put the pressure on. DRS, I don't think he's quite going to be close enough, but it's quite close in the mid-pack. Miles getting himself into the top 8 as Patterson has fallen down to P11 and is going to try around the outside of Nathan, but again can't quite get the grip. So Mad Nathan staying inside the top 10 and going to try and push on forwards for a good finishing position as Mr. XL gets himself into the top 13 as Wayne has to serve his drive-through for a speeding infraction under the VSC. But Swoosh putting the pressure on Lizard. They are very close, the two race leaders, as long as he can keep it close through Maggotts, Beckett and Chapel, which is very hard to do in the dirty air. He's going to try it as best he can. He's going to have the DRS and he's a good launch. He's got a little bit of ERS in the tank now. He's going to try and set it up. This is what he's been waiting for. This is the opportunity he's been waiting for. Lizard, you can see, weaving around, trying to break the toe, but Swoosh is having none of it. He's closing at a rate of knots. Can he go for the movement towards Stowe? Looks, but doesn't commit as Dizzy Lizard swoops across him. The two race leaders are having an absolute calamity, but the Alpine off the track gets the move done as Lizard is a little bit compromised and concedes the position. And now because of this, Brian has managed to catch up. Swoosh gives him the position back because it was overtaken off track, and now it's a 3-horse race at the front for the race lead. It's Lizard that leads from Swoosh, and Brian who's now been brought right back into this. So the Aston Martin, the Alpine and the Red Bull looking to battle it out for the remainder of this race. Dizzy Lizard under pressure though from Swoosh. He's got a lot more ERS in the tank than both Swoosh and Brian behind, so he's got the defensive mechanism there in place. Goes a little bit wide through the loop. I think Swoosh takes a little bit too tight of a line that could compromise him and leave him under pressure from the Red Bull, who's going to try and set up the move. He's going to have DRS, he's going to have ERS. Swoosh not closing too much on Lizard, but he's not quite got the closing speed as Brian to go for the move. So the top 3 stay as they are, with Paul closing after him, and they're bringing Tor with him. So Tor staying nicely in the DRS. He knows he can stay with Paul, and Paul knows he's catching the front 3, so if he can just stay there and slowly catch up, it's going to be a 5-horse race. Swoosh looking to put the pressure on, not quite going to come into fruition through Stowe though, unfortunately. It's not really a conventional overtaking opportunity, but if you've got a good run, no reason why not, as they look to lap Rigby. And I think Dizzy Lizard is going to hope that he can pick up a little bit of DRS or even slipstream off the back of that McLaren in front. Dizzy Lizard needs to get a good launch. That's exactly what he's got. He's left Swoosh in the dust. The Red Bull as well with an incredible exit is closing at a rate of knots and tucked up nicely in the slipstream as the Alpine is running out of ERS. Can the Red Bull go for the move? No, he can't. He's going to back out of that one as the Alpine is giving it everything. Brian trying to find a way through. Looks to the inside for Vale. Is he going to send it? He is. Has a look, but can't quite break late enough. which is allowing Lizard to get a little bit of breathing space at the front if these two start battling, which is the last thing they want. They do not want to let that Aston Martin get away because he is so quick when he's by himself, and I think the virtual toe hook of DRS is really aiding Swoosh in his bid to win this race. And if he doesn't have it, then well, he's going to be a little bit buggered, I think. So he needs to stay there. These two cannot be fighting. The Red Bull needs to work with Swoosh. He's third man in the train. And if he is obviously quicker and gets bored of waiting for Swoosh to go for a move, by all means go for it. But at this stage in the race, work with him. See if he goes for a move, because you never know. They could come together like they did at Stowe. And then you can try and finesse your way through and get the position. But Paul is closing in. He is reeling these guys in. You can see he's also bringing Tour with him. 1.7 seconds now is the gap from third to fourth. And he is coming. Those mediums are going to slowly start coming into their own. And Paul, definitely one of the drivers of the day in my books, because he's just absolutely flying. And McLaren, ghosted McLaren getting in the way of the Alpine, practically pushing the Aston Martin through Maggots, Beckett, and now Chappell with the Red Bull as well. You can see very close together. Needs a good launch though. Not got a lot in the way of ERS. But Dizzy slowly using up that store as well. The Red Bull closing. Not quite going to close enough maybe in towards Stowe. Has a look. Goes for the move down the inside. The Alpine gives him the space, but it's a half-hearted move from the Red Bull. Can't quite fully commit and didn't quite find himself getting in front, but stay station. They are still in the DRS of the race leader. There's a full course yellow though, because Patterson is out and he's had a crash coming through Stowe. Let's go on board with Wayne. I think it may have just been a swap around, coming through. Tried to catch it once, probably caught it twice, and then on the third time found himself spinning around. So a safety car now out. The race leaders have found themselves going longer, and a couple of people into the pit lane. Let's see what tyres these guys go for then. Medium maybe to the end of the race? I mean, let's see. The McLaren of Mad Nathan is going for hards and a wing change. Lewis, though, is going for softs. So it's going to be around about 6 laps longer on those softs, on those mediums, sorry, than he probably would have hoped for. But, yeah, I mean, if he spends a couple of laps under safety car while they all bunch up, I mean, it could be close. I think this is going to be Patterson. Yeah, it is Patterson. Oops. What happened? I'm guessing it just swapped around on you. But the leaders, they are forced to stay out, and if the pack closes up, they could lose out big time, and I think they will lose out big time if any of these guys decide to pit. But Mad Nathan, Kizagiza, Mr. XL, Wayne and William all come in under the safety car. With Lewis as well coming in for the mediums, don't forget, in the Williams. So it could be close. I think this could be quite touch and go with the strategy. The leaders, of course, have incredible pace and have shown it throughout. As Rigby leaves, he also DNF'd, and is partially the reason why we have a safety car. Now Paul has fallen behind Tor. Something's happened between those two, where Tor managed to get his way through and is on the back of the top three. So when we go green again, I wonder if any of these guys are going to come into the pit lane. Surely they'll lose so much more time though. Look at the train they've already built up, 8 cars long. And all of these guys, of course, are yet to pit. So they're losing a lot of time behind this safety car queue. So I think it might just be quicker if they stay out and go with the plan that was normally due for them. But we'll see what Lizard does in this situation. What do you do? It's such an awkward stage in that stint. You're not quite there for mediums, but you don't want to go onto the hards. Who's coming in? The Aston Martin, he's going for it. He's in. The Red Bull's going to follow him. The Alpine stays out. And the Williams stays out also. Paul out stays out as well. Both Ferrari stay out. So it's only Lizard and Brian that bite the bullet. As well as Miles that come in under the safety car. So Lizard into the race lead. Swoosh inherits into the pit lane, sorry, not into the race lead. Swoosh into the race lead. Tor into P2. It's an Alpine, Williams, Ferrari, top 3. Probably wouldn't have expected that going into this race. But Paul, he's driven absolutely brilliantly. I can't lie, you cannot drop him any marks for anything, because he's been on it. He kept the pace with soft runners all throughout this Grand Prix, and has just really just given it to everyone. He's on the slower tyre, and you would expect him to be slower, and I'd say around about now the mediums would start to come into their own. But yeah, it's just he should be slower, and he just hasn't been. So he's doing an incredible job. Has the Ferrari, and I would definitely put him up there for a good run in this race. Is Wayne finishes his way into P4, and Nathan has to sort of let him through there. But Nathan doing incredibly well as well on his debut. So this is his first league race. He's up there with some very quick people in P5 at Silverstone as well. Of course, it's still around about 2/3 of this race to go, but he's still doing incredibly well. As the trainer's now backed up. Where are the race leaders? Lizard and Brian gone for two different strategies. One for the highs, one for the mediums. I'd say Brian definitely the wiser of the two. I think Lizard may have cost himself a very decent chance of a win here today. But still a long way to go. Got around about, what is that? 18 laps left of this race. Safety car in this lap as well, so Swoosh becomes the effective safety car. He controls the pace as they go to the timing line. Warming up now, you can see final stages of tyre warming. Weaving around, trying to get some temperature in. And he will be the man to lead us off. Tor is going to try and get a good launch as well. He's been eyeing up a spot in the top 3 for quite a while. Paul as well should be quicker, so Swoosh controls the pace. He's got between now and the timing line to punch it. When will he punch it? He wants to catch them off guard as to not get slipstreamed down towards turn 1. He's waiting, he's gone, and we're back under green flag racing for the restart of this race. Tor reacts well, so does Paul. They're going to be around about 3/10 separated. Nathan trying to get a good restart. He's going to look to get himself inside the top 4. Pulls back into the left-hand side though, as he realises that's very unrealistic to go for that. Swoosh leads still from Tor, looking to the inside goes Nathan. He's going to send it up the inside, not quite going to work. The Williams of Lewis though, around the outside, gets the move done, and is going to send it on Nathan as well. He's going to go for the double whammy to get himself inside the top 5. He's going to run side by side through entry, get the move done, as Wayne is on the back of Paul as well. But Lewis, great sequence of corners on those medium tyres, gets himself ahead. The McLaren of Mad Nathan as well looking to get involved. He gets himself into the top 6 on those hard compound tyres. Geezer looking to have a good restart. Wayne, again another penalty. That's really not going well for him today, is it? But Lizard can't quite get those tyres turned on during this first stage of the restart. He's really struggling to get to grips, and he needs to get his head forward, as that's a spin for Miles at the backside, coming through entry off the back of Luffield. That's a shame. That's a swap of position though. Geezer is round at Cops, and that as well, that's to be expected, isn't it? No side-by-side action though. The two Red Bulls looking to go for it. Brian gets ahead. Mister trying to find a way through. Dizzy trying to find a way through. Gets the switchback maybe on even both Red Bulls, as one of them's got damage. Brian has damage and is going to be losing a lot of downforce. So Lizard gets 2 free positions. The Haas of William looking to get himself inside the top 10 as well. Looking to the inside. Nearly 3 abreast into Stowe as he gets himself up the inside of Brian. So too does Wayne, who's going to try and get past the Haas. Looks to the inside. Not quite going to work in the bid for the top 10 finish. And of course, one singular point in this Grand Prix. But Wayne still putting the pressure on Paul. These two very equal in pace. Swoosh leads. 1 second now is the gap between himself and Tor. Paul can't quite close the gap. Lap 10 of 26. When are the front runners in? There's yellow flags through the first sector. That's William out of this race. Had a spin coming through Abbey. Lost the rear end, I'm going to guess. And, well, he lost the rear end in quali. He's now lost the rear end in the race, and it's cost him a decent chance of points in this race. No full course yellow though, so we're going to stay running. I think a safety car would be a blessing for those at the front side of the grid to jump those who pit under the first safety car, but nonetheless we're going to have to continue and slodge their way along. Lewis trying to close up to these two again, medium runners. I think Lewis will go to the end on those tyres. I think it will be tough and it will be a stretch, but he can get to the end on those medium tyres. As well as Man Nathan behind, he'll easily get to the end, and his pace is looking very good. That's Wayne also out of the session with another spin at Cops, and that is going to be a safety car, our second safety car and our 5th retiree here for the season opener of UFR. So the safety car, and surely the front lot have to come in to the pits. It's awkward for Paul because Softs won't go to the end. You can see he's going to stay out. He's going to inherit the race lead. Swoosh gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Silverstone is such a slow pit lane, and he's paid the price. But both soft runners into the pit lane. They're going to go for mediums to the end of this race. Everyone's so bunched up though. This could bring Lizard back into contention. A lot of people in the pit lane. Where's he going to come out? He's going to have to back off to the Delta. Missing nearly smacking into the back of him. It's a lot of people though. Into the top 4 goes Lizard. He's going to be on those hard tyres to the end of the race. This is going to help Lewis out quite a lot. So Lewis to the end. Paul, I reckon, is going to pit in around about 8 laps time, maybe. Around that. Or not 8 laps, that might be a little bit too excessive. Maybe about 7 laps time. Because he can't go to the end on softs, and he can't go for another set of mediums. He has to have he has to use 2 compounds in this race. He started on the mediums, and he can't go again to the mediums to finish the race. He has to have the softs or the hards at one point, if it's 1 lap. So he has to pit for either softs or hards, but can't go medium to medium, if you, of course, don't know. So that is probably why Paul hasn't pitted. If he was on the softs, probably would have come in alongside Swoosh and Tor. One of which has gone for the mediums, the other of which has gone for the hards. So very split strategies are up and down the grid, and I think the majority of them opted in for the hards. I would go for the mediums though, as Brian of course took this opportunity to repair his wing damage, and he's going to be looking to get himself further up the field as best he can. As I reckon we've got 1 more lap under the safety car, of which Paul will lead us off. Lewis is going to look to get himself into the lead. Looked promising in qualifying, did Lewis. Didn't set himself up too well for the race, but since the first safety car he's been on an absolute charge. That double overtake into turn 3 and 4 just really set him up well, and he's now putting him into P2. Mad Nathan, of course, is on a recovery drive. He was leading the race for a good portion of the first stint, spun very tragically through Maggots and Beckett, and now finds himself P3. Lizard, the previous race leader, very comfortable race leader, but decided to come into the pit lane under the first safety car for a set of hard compound tyres, which he is retaining under the safety car. I'm not going to opt for the mediums, which I mean I would say is going to be a good bet. I'd say the safety car, 1 more lap. We are all bunched up, with Brian now joining us at the back side of the grid in P12, right behind Nathan, who was in P5 at one point, but now finds himself P11 as he didn't pit. But still only 1 position off the top 10. It's all to play for the Ferrari. His teammate flying the colours very well, up in front, leading the way. And of course, for those of you new to Formula 1, we've got a lovely HUD display at the bottom of the screen that tells us the ERS, that's the battery you see in the bottom left. That is the energy that the engine has. And then of course you've got the RPM, that's how loud the engine is. That's really tells the driver when to change up a gear. The big number in the middle, that is the gear they're in. So of course 8-speed gearbox for Formula 1 cars, and if you're on the road, that's the gear stick that people use in Formula 1 cars. They're little paddles on the side of the steering wheel that you use instead of the conventional H-pattern gear stick. They are the gears, and that is why they constantly change. Goes into neutral, does Paul, so we won't be going anywhere with that one. 3-second gear, and then the speedometer just to the right, that tells their speed, that tells how fast they're going, which is usually going to be in the 3-digit numbers for Formula 1 cars. And then of course you've got the brake inputs and the throttle inputs, and then next to that you've got their pit box information and their fuel situation. If that's white, they're positive on fuel. If it's red, they're very low on fuel, and if it's yellow, they're a little bit down on where they should be on fuel. So that is the HUD explained. To the right of that you've got your track map, and to the left of it all, that's the tower, that's the timing, that's the positions, and that's how I can tell who's leading the race, which at the moment is Paul in the Ferrari. So lap 12 of 26, nearly halfway through this Grand Prix, and what a hectic race it's been. Should be safety car in this lap, and we should get back underway and racing very shortly. Yep, safety car in this lap being confirmed by race control. 11 laps he's done on those mediums. Surely he has to come in soon, but he's moving around, getting some temperature into the tyres, helping them to perform well off the restart. And he's going to be backing up the field as much as he can, wants everyone close together. Feed Lewis to the pack of wolves behind. That's going to be his best bet to lead off the restart. But Lewis has been an absolute monster. He's going to be relentless. He's going to be breathing down that Ferrari's neck, not letting him breathe off this restart. Weaving around does Paul. He's going to be waiting. When is he going to punch it? Is it going to be on the exit of Vale? He's punched it. We're back under green flag racing, and it's a great restart for Lewis. He reacts so well to what Paul does, and could even put a little bit of a challenge maybe towards turn 3 and 4. Tucked up nicely in the slipstream. Through turn 1 they go. He is very nicely tucked up. Is he going to be close enough to launch an attack? Not quite, but Paul definitely looking in his mirrors and going to go defensive. Mad Nathan as well, putting the pressure on these two. So it's again a 3-horse race at the front. No DRS for another 3 laps, but Lewis tucked up in the slipstream. He's going to be using that hole that Paul's punching in his air, punching through the air to help propel him down this straight, but around about 80% ERS for Lewis, and he's going to be trying to use that to close the gap. Not quite going to be close enough into Brooklyn, so Paul driving incredibly well off the restart. with Nathan as well getting himself into the top 10 from P11. Brian up another position as Miles has gone for a spin, I believe. Lizard holding station, Swoosh looking to get past Mister, maybe towards Cops. Not going to be the most conventional overtaking opportunity because it's very much flat out. But Mad Nathan on the back of Lewis. He's definitely the man charging. He's got the pace. He just needs a little bit more consistency. But since his spin, he's been a new man. He's been composed and he's been ready to take the fight for the remainder of this race. Swoosh Rider, another penalty. That's not going to be helping him too much. Pull defensive to the inside. Lewis tucked up nicely. Closing, but not quite going to close enough. And same with Mad Nathan. I think all three of them are going to be hoping for DRS to come soon. Lewis closing the gap through Stowe, though. Those fresh mediums really going to be helping him out as Wayne gets himself past Tour, down the inside into Stowe, gets the move done, and pretty comfortably up into P7. Mister goes very deep. A lovely cutback manoeuvre from Swoosh to get himself up the inside through Club. Gets the move done. That was a very awkward mistake for the Red Bull. Side by side, the McLaren go around the outside of Abbey. Has to concede, though, as he's off the track. Lewis hangs on for P2 as the Aston Martin of Lizard is now getting involved. It's a four-way fight at the front. It's a nice pool train, you could say. He's conducting a lovely train of three cars behind him. Lewis tucked up nicely. There's yellow flags through sector 1, I think, towards out of spin. Defensive goes Paul. The Williams to the right-hand side. A change of the race lead now. He's going to be around the outside of Brooklands. They touch. He pulls to the left-hand side to get the move done, and it's going to be complete through Brooklands. Change of the race lead. Paul comes back at him, though, through Luffield. Chucks it up the inside, and there's contact between the two. Paul sent round and is sent spinning and tumbling down the order in that Ferrari. And he's going to be rejoining around about P8, maybe even P9 or so. But Lewis takes the lead through Brooklands. You can see, squeezed them all the way to the left, pulled out to the right to swoop around the outside. But he come back at him, did Paul, and made contact on the exit. I'm sure the stewards are going to be looking at that. Lewis struggling through Maggotts and Beckett's, really holding up Mad Nathan in P2, who goes for a spin, gets over the curb and goes round. The McLaren for the second time through Maggotts and Beckett's has been sent spinning round. So Lizard up into P2. Swoosh going to run side by side with him down towards Stowe. It's all kicking off now. The Alpine looking to the inside. These two really do love going side by side in this race, don't they? Lizard picks himself up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so he's been exceeding the track a little bit too much maybe. And Swoosh looking to get a good launch. I think the field a little bit spaced out. Paul surely be coming into the pit lane. DRS enabled, the drag reduction system, the opening in the rear wing that gives him an extra 15 kph down the back straight, provided you're within 1 second of the car in front. And I'm sure both Lizard and Strider are going to be looking to go for a move. Kiza, a 3-second time penalty to be added on to his race time as well. Very easy to do at Silverstone. Lizard tucked up nicely in the slipstream. He's got the DRS, he's using overtake, he's going to be closing quite quickly towards Brooklands. Is he going to be close enough? He pulls to the left-hand side, gets the move done, he pulls it to the inside. The Williams, though, leaving him to dry around the outside. They touch wheels, they bang wheels in towards Luffield, and he's going to concede. He's going to go for the cutback, does the Aston Martin. Can't quite get the foot down quick enough, but he's going to be tucked up again, looking for the move to Cops. Not quite going to be close enough. The Williams defends nonetheless, brings it back over to the left-hand side, and I think Lizard's going to be waiting for that hanger straight run towards Stowe. The Alpine as well wants to get a little bit spicy and find his way in this fight. At the moment hasn't been able to put the pressure on, but Lizard driving incredibly well on those hards. Yellow flags through sector 1 and 2. I think that's Mad Nathan off again, which is a shame. Lizard pulling to the right hand side, though, goes for the move down the inside of Stowe, but once again the Williams around the outside keeps him pinned. The two British teams going side by side. The Aston Martin going to dummy to the inside, doesn't quite know where to go, so the Williams places that car incredibly well as to keep his position, and Lizard can't quite find a way through. So Lizard really struggling to find a way through, and if he struggles much more, then Swoosh is definitely going to take this opportunity to get his way through. Wayne in P4, closing at a rate of notch. You can see sets the fastest lap, goes purple, quickest of anyone, purple. And is closing on that fight for the top 3. Lewis gets a good launch, he needs a good launch, so does Lizard. Paul with a 3-second penalty. Swoosh, though, he's going to be close. He's going to be gaining, not quite going to be gaining enough as the Aston Martin pulls to the right-hand side. It's going to be outside for Brooklands, used to be the favourable line. The Williams tries to run him out of track, and he does run him out of track. The Aston Martin still unable to find a way through as they negotiate Brooklands and Luffield once more. Lewis hangs on from the leaders. Lizard and Swoosh, your top 3, with Wayne closing very quickly, and Mister in P5 trying to gain some time as well. 5 and 6 for Red Bull at the moment. Not some bad points to be going back to Milton Keynes. Lewis goes very wide. Lizard maybe having a little look towards Magnus and Beckett. Surely not. Looks for it. Not quite going to find a way through as the Williams goes very wide and off the track. And Lizard inherits the race lead. Lewis rejoins in third. No, he doesn't. Rejoins in fourth, maybe even fifth. A very weird mistake for him. He might have some damage to the front wing of that Williams and is going to lose the place to the Red Bull, who pulls to the right hand side. So Lewis from the race lead just got caught up on that curb. Couldn't turn. Lost all the downforce from the floor. And yeah, that's P5 for him from the race lead. Very big shame for the Williams driver, who was doing an incredible job. Lizard lead the way then. Swoosh tucked up behind with him. Has been matching him on pace, but you would expect that, seeing as though he is on the medium tyres. 17 of 26. Is very close. How close is close enough though? Very different ERS amounts. There's another spin for Magnus and Beckett. That's miles gone off again. DRS open for Swoosh. Wayne now within the DRS range of the front two as well. But Swoosh doesn't have a lot in the way of ERS to use compared to Lizard. So Lizard has the tool to keep himself in front as best he can. With Lewis trying to get himself at least back inside the top four and chase after that podium. He's got the pace to do so, I would say. Swoosh closing on Lizard. Is it going to be close enough for Cops? Not quite. But a good effort, and is going to be practically pushing him through Cops. You can see he might even have a run towards Magnus and Beckett. It's not going to be the wisest thing to do, but if he's got the run, go for it. Absolutely send it. He needs to make sure he gets a good exit. You can see just how close he is through Magnus, Beckett and Chapel. That's something that isn't very easy to do, especially in the dirty air. But DRS open now in the slipstream. Lizard having to defend. Swoosh stays on the left hand side. He's confident in his abilities around the outside. Both very low on ERS. Around the outside goes the Alpine. Gets the position. The Aston Martin going to fight it all the way through the corner, but has to concede. Might come back at him though. Down the inside into Vale. No. So Swoosh up into the race lead. And Lizard having to tuck into P2 with Wayne closing on these two. These three have shown some impeccable pace, some absolutely blistering pace. As well as Lewis, who gets himself into the top four as well. And he's doing pretty well. Of course, we've had Nathan and Paul, both very quick drivers who could have done very well in this race, but just some mistakes on their part have really set them back. Wayne. He's got a lot of DRS in the bank, and he's closing on Lizard. He's got the DRS. Is it close enough, though? Don't quite think so. Not going to go for it. Swoosh extending the gap at the front. With yellow flags, who set for one. That's a Williams. That's tore off. Had a little bit of a spin coming off the loop, I think. Very easy mistake to make as Nathan picks himself up. A 3-second time penalty. A lot of penalties for warnings. Let's see how they stack up at the front. 8 seconds for Swoosh. 3 seconds for the rest of the top four. So pretty much even Stevens. There's a car off. That's the McLaren of Mad Nathan off. But Wayne all over the back now of Lizard. He's going to have DRS. He's going to have slipstream. He's going to have ERS on the back straight. Let's hang it straight. He's going to replicate the move Swoosh tried. He's closing. Just pulls to the right hand side. Gets himself in front before the corner. Tucks back onto the racing line. And Aston Martin can't really do much in the way of denying that move. He was always going to come through, and Wayne on his charge for the race lead is now still within a DRS range of Strider, and with a lot more ERS as well in the bank. He's going to be utilising that to the best of his ability. Has let the front two wear themselves out. They've tied themselves out. They've used up all their ERS, and now Wayne can swoop through and pick up the pieces as long as he can keep it with Strider, who gets a really good run through turn 1 and 2, mind you, extending the gap maybe even over a second. Will he get DRS? Of course, he needs to be within 1 second at the DRS point. He has just about managed to scrape his way through, so might need to use a little bit in the way of ERS to catch back up. He's got the DRS, he's got the anchor hook in, that is the main thing. Instead as well, the other closest battle on track on his teammate. Again, maybe way too far back to go for a move realistically there. At 19 of 26, around about 6.5 laps left to go of this race. Just outside the second range, needs to give it everything through Magnus and Beckett. And is within 1 second, 8 tenths is the gap, needs to really give it everything before the DRS detection point of just before turn 3, and is well within that, using his ERS to try and maintain that gap as best he can, as Strider's tyres are going to slowly begin to wear off as Lewis is into the pit lane. Wasn't confident in going to the end of those medium tyres. And he's within 1 second, very comfortably within 1 second, and Strider not with a lot of ERS. Of course, when you get below 10%, you start reducing your power output. So Wayne, definitely advantage towards him. Lizard as well is there, just about in the DRS. I think Wayne might have just about established himself well enough to pick up the pieces. Of course, Strider has that extra 5-second time penalty compared to these two as well, which is not going to help him. Brian, if he can get himself within 1 more tenth of the top 3, he could find himself on the podium. So not bad at all for Brian if he can pick up a podium. Creeping his way back in, as long as he can keep it clean for the remainder of this race as well as on penalties. He's within 3 seconds. And even could be a P2 finish because of Strider's extra 5 seconds. So that could be very spicy. Wayne closing very neat and tidy through Magnus and Beckett. Giving it everything. DRS open. DRS deployed. I think Swoosh is going to be very, very vulnerable when it does happen. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because you can see how much he's closed down that straight alone, barely using any ERS, and that flashing red light of the Alpine is going to be like a bull chasing a red flag of that AlphaTauri. Just so happened to be sponsored by Red Bull, the Red Bull Junior team, so it is definitely a bull chasing red, and he's going to see that. He knows he's got the advantage, he knows he can just blitz past whenever he wants down the straight, just needs to stay close enough and not make any mistakes, as we've seen a lot of drivers do. Miles with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so a lot of drivers not being able to keep it clean. Brian the only one without a penalty. Could we see a change of the race lead now? Mad Nathan has gone for another spin through turn 1 and 2. Not quite close enough, I don't think, is Wayne to go for the move on this occasion. But he's going to sit back. He doesn't want to waste it all in one go. He doesn't need to make any rash judgments either. He's got no rush. He's got the advantage, and Swoosh has got the extra 5 seconds. So the AlphaTauri knows this is his race to win. And well, you wouldn't have expected that because, well, he started quite far back compared to these guys. Indeed, he did. He started right back in that, on last place, in fact, from Wayne. Didn't put a lap in and finds himself now in a provisional race lead, challenging for the on-track race lead. And is probably the favourite to do so. Putting that pressure on, he's going to have DRS. I think this is where he's going to push the button and absolutely sends it now. Swoosh has got nothing to say about it. He's breaking the toe as best he can, but the AlphaTauri is going to just swoop past him, get himself in front. The Alpine tries to fight back, chucks it up the inside. That's going to be a last-ditch effort, but the Honda-powered AlphaTauri just blitzes past down the straight, uses that ERS advantage, and I think it's his time to just go into the distance. Just absolutely fly now for Wayne. Set personal best, which he has done. Swoosh is going to try and stay with him, though. He's not got a lot of ERS to use, but he's got the spirit, and he wants to stay with him. Brian closing on Lizard with those medium tyres, and as we go on to lap 22 of 26, Swoosh needs to get himself in front as quickly as possible through the loop. Takes a nice tight line, gets the run. Wayne has got the ERS to defend with, though. DRS open for Swoosh. He's not going to be close enough. He needs to fight. He needs to dig deep, find something in himself to be able to get that position. As Lizard is also falling off this fight, and is struggling maybe with tyre wear or something. Brian managing to close within enough distance to get himself onto the podium. Not quite enough for P2, I would say. In fact, I think it's just on the borderline of P2. He needs to fight. He needs to catch up to Swoosh a little bit, and hope Swoosh loses a little bit of time. Staying with Wayne is Swoosh. With the DRS and the slipstream, he's not exactly blitzed away from him. I think the only thing letting him down is his lack of ERS. Otherwise, he would be absolutely flying compared to the AlphaTauri on those mediums. DRS open. He's not quite gaining enough, but Wayne, crucially, has now diminished that advantage. He's now down to 1% ERS, and I think it's now level playing field. While, yes, Swoosh has got a 5-second penalty, the on-track fight for the race lead is certainly most on. And Wayne, tried to get away from him by using his ERS advantage, but it just didn't work, and now finds himself stuck with no way to recharge that battery. It's very hard to recharge at Silverstone. You're not on the brakes for very long, and then you're back full throttle, so you use a lot of energy around this circuit. Yellow flags again through sector 3. Mad Nathan really not having a good day today. But Swoosh, both very equal on ERS. DRS open. Not quite on this lap, I wouldn't say, but he's going to be reeling him in. He's cast the hook and he's slowly starting to reel in the AlphaTauri in front. And now he knows that Wayne is low on ERS as well. He can start to push and start to put that pressure on, just tumble it on. But then again, he could still pull the gap to Lizard and stay in P2, but he's closed, and look at that. Might even have a look into Cobbs, but I think he's staying out of the slipstream is to not have that run into Cobbs. They both keep it nice and tidy. Wayne now on the back foot. You wouldn't have said that 2 laps ago, would you? When he got through, you'd have thought he blitzed away, but Swoosh has kept him honest and is now putting the pressure on. But a great run through Maggots, Beckett and Chapel from the AlphaTauri. Sees him extend that lead by a little bit and might be enough to secure the lead going towards Stowe. The Alpine closing maybe for a little bit of a last-ditch effort. Goes very, very close to the back of the AlphaTauri under braking, but yeah, not quite close enough. 3 laps left of this race remaining, 24, 5 and 6. And Swoosh can well and truly secure P2 in this race. If he pulls out 1.2 seconds on the car behind and doesn't battle too much with Wayne, I think he might want to do that instead. Because the fight for the race lead probably is over for him. He's not going to pull 5 seconds on Wayne unless there's a big mistake. Kizagiza, another 3-second penalty for him. Not too much going on down the pack through the midfield, so it is just the front 2 going at it towards the end. Wayne having to break the toe. Swoosh gaining. Is he gaining enough though? Blinking red light of Wayne. Invites Swoosh to the inside. He's not going to be committed enough to go for it. Mad Nathan has retired in the pit lane, which is a shame. Was driving pretty well up until his couple of spins, just couldn't recover from it, unfortunately for him. But still, very entertaining race at the front, even if it wasn't Mad Nathan fighting for it. We've had different people fighting for it, and it's been going very, very well. Completely clean racing and a great start to the season, I would say. Swoosh this time with a better run through Maggots. Can he keep it through Beckett's and Chapel? Does so. Maintains the gap pretty nicely. DRS open then as they look to go on to the penultimate lap in a couple of corners time. Lap 24 of 26. The Alpine's going to come back at the AlphaTauri. Pulls to the inside. Is the AlphaTauri going to go around the outside? No, he's not. He has to tuck in behind. Locks the brakes as to not run into the rear diffuser. But the Alpine gets himself back into the race lead and is now going to be setting his sights forward and try and maybe bridge the gap and get away as they come onto the penultimate lap. 25 of 26 has all been boiling down to this. Paul, in fact, is the closest midfield runner. He's going to go for the move for P8 around the outside of Maggots and Beckett. It's not going to be the wisest move in the slightest, but those soft tyres should in theory be quicker. He's got a little bit in the way of ERS to use, not much, well, nothing compared to Kizagiza. Gets the DRS open, pulls to the right hand side, gets himself ahead. Goes the Ferrari into P8 after a rough day for Paul. He had the pace definitely. Not quite good enough though. As they round Sector 1, the 2 race leaders. 7 tenths between Strider and P2. Actually 3 tenths because the interval to Strider. Well, let's get the interval to the leader up. 4.9 seconds, so he needs to pull out 1/10 of a second. Does get himself just into that 5-second range as to keep himself in P2. Brian has stayed within the window, so I think it will be Lizard the one that gets knocked off the podium instead of Strider. Needs to be careful, needs to stay within 5 seconds of the leader. Coming back at him though, Wayne closing towards Stowe, down the hanger straight, pulls to the right hand side, gets the move done. The Alpine can't quite say much around the outside of Stowe. Usually you can, but on this occasion he can't. I think he's going to wait for the DRS, and these two have been swapping positions for the last couple of laps. The Alpine now once again behind. Finally managed to get through, but a lap later the AlphaTauri strikes back. Down the Hamilton straight they go for the final time. Lap 26 of 26 through Abbey. Needs to give it everything he can. Needs to bring out 5 seconds to go behind. It is going to do so. Doesn't want to fight too hard, but then again wants the on-track race victory, even if it's not official in the standings, as Nathan is on the back of Miles as well for his debut point. Pulls to the left-hand side, gets the move done, bullies the Alfa Romeo off the track, and gets the move done. Into P10 goes the Ferrari, very nicely done. And will actually stay ahead because of penalties, so it's not lost. So Nathan, if he can get himself some points inside the top 10 on his first ever league race, can't ask for much more than that, very much a good effort. Running himself as high as P5 at one point. But what can Swoosh say? I will say that Grizzly Lizard is trying his hardest to stay within 5 seconds, but it might be all in vain. It's going to be very close between the two. Swoosh is going to try and get the move done on Wayne. It's going to be his last effort. He needs a good run off Chapel. Wayne gets an absolutely incredible launch though. DRS open for the Alpine. Is he going to be closing enough? He definitely is closing in the slipstream, but gaining before the braking zone of Stowe. Not quite going to be gaining enough. Looks to the inside, but Wayne holds his nerve and will hang on to take the victory unless Alpine can do anything about it into the final chicane of Vale for the final time. Rounds the corner. Wayne from the back of the grid comes across the line as the season opener, the British Grand Prix winner, with Swoosh in second place. Has he done enough to stay in front? Dizzy Lizard across the line is going to be very marginally close, less than a tenth of a second in it, as Brian finds himself in P2 on penalties, with Swoosh 1.4 seconds behind, but a tenth of a second between Lizard and a podium place. So close for the man who started in third place. So close for him. He was leading the race for a good portion of that, but heartbreak for him. Just couldn't do enough. Strider drove that last stint to perfection, but so did Wayne. He was absolutely flying last to first. Did not do a bad job at all. And already it's kicking off in the Discord chat. Swoosh and Dizzy Lizard, so close. But what a race we were in store for. Still waiting for Nathan and Miles though to cross the line. But I think Nathan, on his debut race, his first league race, he's not only finished, but he comes across the line in the top 10 to score a singular point. Followed by Miles in P11. What a drive from Nathan. Kept it clean, kept his nose clean. Wasn't one of the 7 or 6 retirements, whatever he had. And an incredible job from all drivers on all fronts today. I think they can all give themselves a pat on the back with that one. Thank you, Paul. And harsh luck sometimes. You definitely, I'd say that was one of your races to win. Definitely had a good chance of it. I mean, Wayne was absolutely flying. He takes the win from the back of the grid, 17th on the grid, and he comes through to take the win in very good fashion. Absolutely blitzing pace. He's joined by Brian and Swoosh on the podium, with Dizzy Lizard so close to the podium for the season opener. Mister in P5 with Lewis, P6 his teammate Tor in P7 with Paul in P8. Geezy Geezer and Nathan round off the top 10 with Miles in P11, and your DNFs Mad Nathan, Wayne, William, Patterson, Rigby and Cliff rounding off the grid. What a race it was. Patterspin definitely, but definitely a good way to kick off the season. And I hope for more of it throughout the season. Definitely, well, yeah, a long season ahead. And I think we've definitely got a good idea of who sits where. Silverstone really does tell you in terms of where people are on pace. And I think it's going to be such a close season. So close. I mean, in that race alone, we had 5 people with the pace, the raw pace to win that race. Maybe not the consistency nor the luck, but definitely 4 or 5 people with consistent chances of a race win. So I think we're in store for such a good season here in UFR for 2021. I just certainly cannot wait to get it done. I mean, it's the first round, sure, and maybe we will have boring races, but if we keep that standard up all throughout the season, I'm certainly not going to be complaining. I'm sure you guys at home aren't going to be either. But nonetheless, guys, it's been the British Grand Prix, it's been the season opener, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been Zach Sweeney. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.